This show is sponsored by Realtor Cynthia Baer, Putting Down Roots. Visit your in-town real estate specialist in Atlanta at cynthiabaer.com.
You are now tuned in to the Good Gracious Show. Welcome.
Howdy, Good Gracious family. It is Monday, September 3rd, 2018. I'm Boyd Baker, your host for Good Gracious Show podcast number 113. Yes, it is 113, and it is a beautiful Labor Day here in Atlanta. I just returned from a little recharge, splashing in a lake, trying to get my head wrapped around this short week. And next Saturday, September 8th, at the Switchyards Downtown Club is our live show, Good Gracious number 13. Yes, a baker's dozen. Get it? My name's Baker. Anyway, it's going to be fantastic. This one's got, a different vibe to it. You may have heard it's actually kind of got a theme. Its theme is, woman power, female strength. We're doing the show on the same night that would have been Patsy Cline's 86th birthday had she not tragically died in a plane crash. So in my mind, she's kind of one of the first real women libbers, or kind of speaking of power, saying I can do anything you can do and maybe better. And so it's a well-deserved honor for me to try to focus people around, learn a little bit about Patsy's background, but also saying, hey, amazing musician as well. And the folks at Maida Vale Experiences, they do these pop-up music and literature and creative cocktails experiences around town, and they are going to they kind of gave me the idea, worked with me, and we came up with some stuff. So very excited about this, and the show will have amazing, it's like almost 25 women on stage one evening. Everything from some great singer-songwriters like Nashville's Kashona Armstrong, she's coming. We've got their sketch comedy from Critical Crop Top. We have Lexi Street, some good pop rock music from here in town. Author Nikki Salcedo, amazing catalyst of interest. The folks from Kate's Club are going to show up, talk about what they do to help youth, as well as Octave Atlanta. Some nice a cappella music will be dancing in. Some more comedy, probably from Blair Erskine, as well as Friday JR, this new group that I've just recently heard about. So lots and lots of great stuff, and probably a couple surprises. Oh, I do believe that we'll have some baked goods from Just Bakery here in town, and there may be a surprise birthday cake coming. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but either way, that's this coming Saturday, September 8th. So if you don't have your tickets yet, please get them. You can go to goodgracioushow.com and a link straight through to the Fresh Sticks. They're $20, and they'll be at the door as well unless we sell out beforehand. So love to have a full house and a lot of fun, and so don't want you to miss out. Meanwhile, on this podcast episode, I wrangled in Alabama performer, singer-songwriter, amazing Wilder Adkins, and just a very, very interesting chat we had. He's a creative guy from originally from the Atlanta area, and he's done some beautiful music. And anyway. So you want to listen to him. I've got some video that I just have to get up for him. But he was really a great chat. And then I also sat down with Minka Wiltz, who's doing a kind of like a house concert, but it's a house theatrical performance, a one-woman show she's created. And she's doing that with Out of Hand Theater here in town. And end of September 28th through November. And it's just a group of shows all around town, various homes, and it's a really interesting prospect. So, and she's just an incredible artist all around. So I know you're going to love it. Her energy's high intensity and a lot of fun. So that being said, enjoy.
Hey, I'm Wilder Adkins, and I'm a songwriter, originally from Marietta, but I've been over in Birmingham, Alabama for, I don't know, since 2002, I guess.
That's a good while. What took you out of our wonderful state?
I went there for college, and then spent a little time in India, and then I went back to Alabama for grad school, and I've just kind of stuck around there ever since. Yeah.
And was music always part of that, part of your equation there, or was it kind of an accessory to what you were doing with grad school?
Yeah, music's always been something that I was working on and trying to do, but I know my parents were really big, at least my mom was, on having a backup plan and that sort of thing. And so I went and studied library science because it seemed like a not too difficult master's degree to get, and it seems like a job that you don't have to take home with you. And
yeah, the library books kind of stay put.
Maybe more of a quiet job. Yeah, so I went and did that and found it's really not my passion, but I guess like if I'm ever hard strapped in the future for work, I could probably find a library to work in.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. What took you to India?
So that was kind of in between college and grad school. I had applied late, and so I missed the boat on like financial aid and all that stuff. So I had to defer for a year, and I didn't want to just like, I was kind of depressed about it, and so the prospect of just like working, like at Michael's Arts and Crafts store for a year, like just seemed like the worst thing ever. So I just was asking around for like opportunities to like serve or, do volunteer stuff overseas. And so that opportunity came about through a friend's dad who knew this organization. So yeah, I went and lived in Nagpur, India for 5 months. But it feels like so much longer because it's the most kind of different experience I've ever had. And so, I can almost have a memory from each day because each day was just so unique and different compared to what I've known in America. So it's like, I feel like I lived a lifetime over there of experiences,
Was this a service trip then? Were you working with somebody or?
No, I went and I lived on a seminary campus, and but my main job was I was helping like catalog books in their library, which just was happenstance. Weird. It was just like happenstance that also was what I was about to go and study in grad school. But yeah, well, they had to get tons of donations to their library to be accredited. They had to have a library of a certain size. And so a lot of their students were kind of lower class and not good at computers and can't really type very fast. And so, so they were happy to have me because I know my way around computers and can type and enter information in. But so that was like my main duty on campus. But I mean, really, I got to spend time with everyone, like faculty and students, and they had kind of a children's home on the campus, and so I would go and eat dinner in the children's home, and it was a lot of fun. I picked up pretty good Hindi while I was there, and so I don't get to use it much these days. But
not in Birmingham?
No. Well, there's some at UAB, some people, I think, who speak Hindi, but yeah, I don't go down to the med school very much.
Yeah. How did you find your music impacted by that trip? Or at least your thinking, or?
I don't know. I didn't really like get to take any lessons while I was there or anything like that, but I think just being around it and kind of like at these chapel services, hearing these crazy melodies, that were so kind of foreign to me, they kind of seeped in, I think. And so I would say hopefully influence the way that I write and create melodies. I think try and put a little bit of everything I've got into my songs. So
Have you always been a songwriter? You feel like has music been part of you for a long time?
yeah, I think when I was younger, I was always just kind of coming up with melodies and singing, like, and on the playground I would come up with these like parody songs. So it was much more like Weird Al type stuff back then. Yeah, and I think in high school was more, I tried to start writing like seriously, but I had kind of trouble for a while at if I had written something on the guitar, I would kind of be real hesitant or scared to like put anything down because I didn't want it to be like set in stone. What if the words aren't as good as the music and that sort of thing? And it took me a while to not kind of edit myself so much before having ever even put anything down on paper. And still though, like, it's a different process from if you're kind of creating the music and the lyrics at the same time, is maybe a little bit easier for me than if I've written a whole song musically, trying to kind of cut up lines, and make it all fit into the music, and then also feel that the tone of the words matches the tone of the music and that sort of thing. It's a little more challenging that way, I think.
Was guitar always your instrument of choice, or did you start with piano or something else?
Yeah, I started with piano. 'Cause my brother was taking piano lessons, and his piano books, were for kids and kind of started at the beginning. So I just kind of started teaching myself, and then my mom saw that I kind of had more interest than he did, so she started letting me take lessons. But I think I stopped that though when I was about 10 or 11, because we had moved away from where my piano teacher was, and then I started picking up the guitar at 15. Took lessons for a few years in high school, and then from then on just kind of been teaching myself, picking things up. Yeah, I kind of just developed my own finger picking style, which I learned later on was called like Travis picking, or kind of alternating bass technique, but it wasn't really something that I picked up from a book or from watching anyone. It was just, I need something for my fingers to be doing to fill this, silence, and so kind of developed a busier style like that.
So did you have any influences? I mean, as far as with guitar?
Yeah, I remember when I was a freshman in college, I started listening to Richard Thompson, the British singer-songwriter, and he's got this song called 1952 Vincent Black Lightning, one of his more famous songs, kind of a song about a motorcycle, and it's got a really kind of fancy picking part that I kind of looked up and tried to play and was like, this is above me. And I don't know, I came back to it probably 4 years later, and it was challenging, but I stuck with it and realized I can play this. And
just trying to mimic, trying to copy what he was doing, just seeing if you could.
Yeah, so but yeah, he's one, who I've kind of have listened to over the years, and I think our guitar style's similar in some ways. And Bruce Coburn is a Canadian singer-songwriter who also, I think, only plays with his fingers, and they're both much better than I am, but they're kind of who I've looked up to as far as guitar players.
As far as songwriting, is that just out of your head and you're not really thinking of anybody else's poetic styles?
Yeah, I would say both of them. I I love some of their songs a whole lot, and then some of the others I just kind of don't do it for me. But the ones that I really liked were kind of the torch songs and kind of just songs that would make me feel something. And so I kind of chase after that. Like, I want to make other people feel something, and I want to write a song that moves me or feels meaningful to me. And so I heard someone say of like Van Morrison that his muse is he's always just kind of chasing after beauty, and he wants to put down, you know, what's beautiful and kind of share that with others and put it in all of his work. And I realized I think that's kind of what I do too, is I don't think of myself as like an instigator or an agitator. I don't care about, you know, people getting up in arms so much about stuff, but I do want to point them towards like beauty and hopefully help them see the world in a different way, you know. And if then that influences how they act or treat other people, then that's good.
Well, that's pretty. It's a pretty good goal to have, I think, if you can leave that with that's where people think of you, or your epitaph of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
So what does this next year hold in store for you? Do you have any big plans? Or?
Yeah, I've got to go up to Asheville sometime this fall and finish up some recordings there. Because I won a songwriting contest called the New Song Music Songwriting Competition up in New York City at the end of, I guess, 2016. The finals were held up there, and so part of the prize was getting to go and play some cool different shows. I got to go to the Sundance Film Festival because ASCAP has a music cafe there that they sponsor. And
had you ever been to Sundance before?
No. Yeah, it was pretty neat. And
did you just play one set one day or something?
I played 2 sets, so 2 days in a row. But it was right after my son was born. He was 3 weeks old.
Oh.
And so I would have liked to I would have liked to have stayed like for a whole week and seen more movies, but I was just there for a few days. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. But the other part of the prize was getting to record up at Echo Mountain Studios in Asheville. So I've been up there once, and we kind of did some pre-production, but yeah, we've got to go back and finish it up.
And how much longer will that take, do you think? Or do you have a timetable on?
No, it's pretty loose, but I think we're going to focus on maybe doing like 2 EPs instead of an album. So maybe like 5 or 6 songs on each. So hopefully, if we're just focusing on one of them at a time, I don't think it should take too long. Hopefully have it out by early next year.
And I'm always curious about how people see the music industry and how they try to reach folks. So I've never heard anybody say, maybe I'll do 2 EPs instead of just one long play. What's the benefit for you on that, or what do you see as the upside?
I think in our modern music industry world, with streaming being the way a lot of people get music these days, if you put out a whole album all at once, say even like 14 or 16 songs or something on Spotify, 1 or 2 of them might get attention and maybe get in some playlists and get a lot of plays, and then like some of the deeper cuts, might really just get looked over. And so if you kind of split it up, a lot of people now are putting out singles or EPs, and that way each song kind of gets a little more time to get spread around and listened to. And I've noticed too, every time I put something new out, all my listens and listeners get kind of a boost. And so for like a short while after you put something new out,
you have more traction.
You get more traction, and people might go check out your other stuff. So I really still like albums and kind of the way you can create kind of a more cohesive sound that way, or maybe tell like a longer story. And that's still my goal when I kind of have some new material that I feel like all kind of maybe fits together or points toward a common theme. But yeah, especially if you're trying to get some traction, get more attention, it's kind of the more that you have out there, the better at this point. And so it's easy to kind of go and do one or two songs and put it out, and then go and do a couple other songs and put them out, just to try and keep the ball rolling.
But it's kind of it's a creative conflict on some level at the same time, right? Because you're trying to think of how to continue to be a non-starving artist, but then also how to put out the creative work that you want. So I could see how you might have an idea for a concept album or something that stays together, but then maybe you have to chunk it up in order to make sure that you can get a little more access to folks.
Yeah. I think, a lot of people these days too, it seems like, are collaborating with other artists, and putting out like a one-shot single, or taking the time to do like a cover song, just to put it out there, just because, it's like the more material you can get out there, everyone's just trying to somehow get noticed amidst like the grand sea of artists out there right now. So
yeah. Do you enjoy it still?
I do, yeah. I think lately I've been struggling, like a lot of artists do, with just comparison. And living in Birmingham, it's not a great kind of singer-songwriter town. We've got like a couple labels that kind of do more indie rock, and a lot of stuff that I feel like was more popular in the early 2000s. But that's kind of their main focus, and kind of the venues are either going to pull in kind of big national artists or more kind of smaller like indie rock bands, and there's not really a great kind of listening room sort of audience over there.
Do you think the audience isn't there, or do you think it's because there's not a venue that's created a place for those people to gather?
I don't know. We have one venue that is kind of in the suburbs a little bit, and so it's harder to get a younger audience to come out there. But they do have pretty steady audience with the people who live out there, and kind of an older audience. But yeah, I'm not sure what it would take in Birmingham, because just the culture is not there, and maybe Birmingham's more of a town where people go to work and go home to their families and watch football on the weekends. So a lot of artists end up moving to Nashville, and then that's kind of what I have struggled with, is maybe I should have done that 10 years ago, but now with like a wife and a kid, it makes it harder to just pick up and move. But so I think with the way the internet works, and you can put your music out there and get it to people all over the world. But yes, still, I don't know if there's a really kind of eyes on certain cities still that kind of seem to raise certain people to the top, or if that's just my kind of perception of why certain people seem to succeed when others kind of struggle.
Yeah, it's a mixed up puzzle right now. It's a tough time in the industry if there are no set rules. People are constantly recreating, and like you said, you see people rise to the top, or at least get notoriety or the fame, and don't always understand why that one rather than another one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if people want to learn more about what you're doing and where you're playing, what's the best way for them to find out?
I think I'm most active on Instagram. If you just search for Wilder Adkins, but I've got a Facebook page and a website, and I respond to messages usually, and I play a lot of weddings. So if anyone's interested in that,
Any people getting married?
Yeah. I've definitely written some love songs, so yeah, if you're interested in that. But yeah, I'm just out there. Come find me.
Doing your thing. Well, thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. FedEx truck going by. So I'm Wilder Adkins, and here down in Candler Park today, and I'm a singer-songwriter over in Birmingham, Alabama. I got a new song that came out just today called Marietta, and it's kind of in this alternate tuning, so maybe while I'll have this guitar out, I was going to play that new song, which up everywhere online that you look on. If you just search Wilder Adkins Marietta, I'm sure it'll show up. Marietta, don't get choked up. Letting go is already hard enough. I'm a lion till I can't get free. Saw the writing upon the wall. You take the pity and I will take the fall. And I know deep down you are really. I'm going down, 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 down. Going down, 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 down. I'm going down, 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 down. I'm going down, down, down. Well, I know your type and you're always getting bored, even though you said that you wanted more. Could you ever really have your fill? And somewhere there's a party that never ends. Line up outside on the hard cement. Tell me later if you're waiting still. I'm going down, 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 down. I'm going down, 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 down. I'm going down, 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 down. I'm going down, down, down. Flash of color, a purple dress. Girl, you had me from when first we met, and I never really had you though. And what it feels like to be known, Marietta, did you want to know? Or were all these tears for show, my love? Going down, 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 down. I'm going down, 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 down. I'm going down.
My name is Minka Wiltz. I am an Atlanta actor.
Period.
I also write and sing, but that's my primary source of income now is acting.
Well, let's just put this out there since we're just getting rolling. If you had your druthers, for those of you who understand that term.
Oh, yes, I do.
What would you be?
What would I be? I would be a highly respected writer. And I would sing on video games. I would be like the voice, be a voiceover artist and the go-to singer on video games, because my background is also opera, and so I would do all the ambient vocalizations. Yeah. I would love to do that. Graphic, what do they call them? Graphic video games?
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun.
That is interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, do you think it'd be fun just because it sounds really good, or have you ever done it before and you're like, oh no, this is it. This is my sweet spot.
I've had a little experience doing voiceover work, and I really enjoy that life. I enjoy just being able to show up in flip-flops and nothing else, not having to worry about the makeup and the thing and the media circus that you have to promote things. Even on the small scale of Atlanta theater, you have to promote stuff. You're expected to do interviews, and that's fine and dandy, but I prefer doing the work.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy that. It's fulfilling.
And when you say writer, what would be your genre or your element, or would you bounce around, do you think?
I like bouncing around. I've written I've completed 13 different pieces for film, television, and stage, and I'm actually developing an opera libretto, and I'm excited about that. All of them really are about telling the stories of people whose voices have been silenced over the years, and being... have they been silenced, or have they just not had a voice? There's a little bit of difference, right? I feel like there's both, actually. That's a good differentiation to make. People who have been silenced, who have stood up for some sort of justice, but you forget about them. And just because we're in Atlanta and people they go back to the civil rights movement a lot, Bayard Rustin is a name of a person who was like the right-hand man of Dr. King, but people don't know his story so much. Mm-hmm. He was a queer black man, and he encouraged Dr. King, and he gave him advice, first-hand advice, about how to move in that space of leadership. And he chose to step back out of the spotlight, though he was a singer and a writer and an amazing figure in his own right. Stepped back because he knew that people weren't ready to see a gay black man highlighted in any capacity. So people like that, I'm interested in those types of stories, and that is a silenced voice. But the unspoken, or maybe the people who have been, how should I say? I don't want to get too macabre, but who've been murdered or killed and ignored because they aren't seen as part of an influential group, and yeah. So those kinds of stories, I like digging. And so you feel like you're a little bit of a social warrior in this respect. Is that it? So yeah, maybe yeah. Is that what gets you? That gets your motor running. That gets me going. Let's get a good cause, man. Yeah, I don't want to just make people laugh for the sake of laughing. Yeah. But think about it, maybe Yeah. I feel like we have enough emptiness in the world. Yeah. And I feel like people are being educated to be empty, and it's not fair to how much we have to offer individuals. Every individual has to offer each other. And music and art, I really feel like, and I tell my friends a lot, I feel like artists are the last true prophets. I feel like we are people who actually can, if you're looking at science fiction or you're looking at literature of any kind, people are constantly reminding us of how we are living our lives now, how we've lived our lives in the past, and the potential of what we can do in the future. And that's the freedom of creativity. So yeah. That's my thing. Yeah, I think that's the perfect interview. It's good talking to you. This is good. Good. Can I have some more, Bevy? Yeah. This stuff's really good. So what piece are you working on now? I'm working on, what is it called? Shaking the Wind. Yay! Out of Hand Theater has been kind enough, gracious enough, and hopefully they see something in it that I haven't seen of greatness, to produce my one-woman show, my first one-woman show, Shaking the Wind. And it's about, did you want to ask me what it was about? I was hoping. Yeah, no, that's all right. I don't have to talk at all. I can just sit back and listen, really. You pick the questions.
I'll just nod.
No, man, interviews are fun. But it's cool to talk about it because it gets me comfortable about talking about it. And it's a story about how I was raised in Atlanta by a pharmacist turned street preacher. She felt like God had called her to be on the streets of Atlanta, and the corner where she preached was right across from underground Atlanta. At the time, it was really, it was still active, that underground Atlanta place, so it was bustling, lots of activity. So yeah, I would go down in the street corner and watch her preach on the streets, and she didn't limit it to that corner. She would preach on MARTA because we didn't have a car at the time, and I was going to school at a very prestigious private school at the time and singing classical music. So it's the story of how I made it through that kind of mental confusion and how I've gotten to where I am today, this illustrious actor in Atlanta.
Yeah, and it's not a typical story by any stretch of the
Right.
imagination. Actually, you couldn't even write that. Nobody'd believe it.
No one
right?
would believe it.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're talking about a woman of color, people would even go, "Oh, that's impossible." Which you're like, anything's possible.
Anything.
We don't. We can get over this what used to be because it
That's
ain't
true,
that
isn't
way.
it?
Yeah. So when you were writing this, was this kind of a little bit of a therapy session for you, or were you thinking it might be something good for somebody else? Or was it always going to be performed or maybe just written?
Boy, you ask such great questions.
Thank you. You read that perfectly.
When I started writing it, I had been trying over a period of time to write a one-woman show or write something that would be my own vehicle. I mean, just to give you a little bit of context. When I moved back to Atlanta in 2001, I think it was, or 2002, sorry, that's when my daughter was born. I moved back to have my daughter. And I just knew and didn't expect people to give me anything because of my type, or I didn't know. So I wrote my own piece. I wrote a piece, put it up at 14th Street Playhouse, and that let me know that I could do it. So fast forward to years and years after, my mother and I had, you go through things with your parents, you're trying to get some peace. So it was that therapeutic element of it. I wrote other things beforehand, but I said, I really need to write this story because it's still confusing me. The whole story was confusing to me, and I lived through it. And it was having repercussions in my life. So I started writing my one-woman show. And I had an idea at the time, and ideas change. But at the time, I had this idea of doing a trilogy, of a one-woman show trilogy. And Shaking the Wind was the first one. And I started working on it with Tom Jones II, a wonderful guy that has become a pillar in my life creatively. And then I got in touch with people at Emory, Jan Akers, and she gave me a space, and that's where I was able to flesh it out. But I'll tell you, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. We don't know when because she kept it a secret until, she just couldn't help herself anymore. And it wasn't until after she passed in 2014 that I really felt that I could finish it. And so I did. And 2015 is when I had a presentation of it at Emory. And that's what got this ball rolling.
Was it at Emory, were you just workshopping, or were you actually performing and then just trying to take notes and coming back to it?
Oh, no, it's where they had something called Breaking Ground, the Breaking Ground series. And so they gave me a week and a stipend and a space. And then the only thing they asked is for me to present some of it or part of it, or all of it if I had, to people that come in to hear it. It was an invaluable resource.
That's huge.
I was so grateful. I still am grateful.
Well, you think about it. If you're a live performance artist on any level, to be able to have that opportunity, there's got to be few and far between.
Oh, yeah.
How many theaters do that?
Yeah. On campus, on the Emory campus.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah. So it really encouraged me. It made me feel like there is a place for my voice in the world if I just take the time to believe, because it does take time to believe in something, and then take the time to follow through. So it's encouraged me to write. I have written 2 others in the trilogy. They look very different, but.
So do you think it's still a trilogy, or do you think that was just a jumping off point?
I think it was, yeah. I think that's what I mean by the idea changing. I really feel like it's opened up so many more corridors in my mind and my soul about who I really am and the vision I have for being a storyteller, whether I am acting on stage or writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It reminded me of a piece I read not too long ago about. I'm gonna forget his name because that's what I do these days. But the director Rodriguez, who did the Spy Kids series, and he did he did some of the Quentin Tarantino-esque stuff. But he was saying that Quentin had asked him to do one. He did a movie called 4 Rooms, I believe, and it was 4 different directors got to pick, and so it all had to, it was almost like an improv skit. You have this one room in this hotel that you're going to use, and you have to use, a candlestick, and the storyline has to be X, whatever.
Right.
And so they just let 4 directors then do what they wanted, and you brought in your own people, you did whatever. It wasn't the same room that you're necessarily looking at, I don't believe, but it could have been. And he said that movie was he said it didn't do so well.
Right.
He said great people involved.
Right.
And for him, he said the thing, as soon as he was doing it, he said, no, I do it a different way. And he goes, and I know what it is he said, it doesn't need to be those 4 segments, because though you think they play together, he said, the directors, we never got together and had, is there an arc? Do we want to make this resonate as a traveling story kind of thing? And so he said it was hard because they're individual snippets when they come together. They each had their story,
Right.
which sounds similar to the way you were seeing it the other way.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that he learned from that, and he's always learning, was that he's a creator, and that experience was not, let's say, profitable or financially successful, but he said there were a couple of moments in that. He said one was just a scene where he looked, and the character he had, Antonio Banderas, was in there, as well as, I believe, an Asian woman who was supposed to be his wife, and then these 2 kids, one Latino and one, And so he said he looked at that picture, and for whatever reason in his brain he goes, boy, they look so sharp. It's almost like they're international spies or something.
Huh.
And it just stuck in his brain, turned around, became the Spy Kids series, which was then a TV show.
Yeah.
But, he said, so I don't look at projects or things as bad things at all. They're not good or inherently bad, because you learn.
Yes.
You learn what works, or you learn where it's trying to take you.
That's exactly right.
And so now you've got 2 other one-woman shows. Would you follow up?
I performed the second one as a one-person show. It's more of a musical, which actually Shaking the Wind has become more of a musical as well. But anyway, the second one is more of a musical, and I performed all the roles, and I wrote music for it, and I see it as needing a full ensemble cast. I see it as a film, more of a cinematic experience, and even beyond cinematic, I really would like it to be a 3D experience, an interactive, augmented reality experience in the theater, whether it be in film or in a live theater. So I'm fleshing that out in my mind right now.
Whoa. Augmented reality. What exactly? Yeah, I mean, is this like one of those escape room things where you're taking people with you through a building, or changing the story depending on what people want?
It's kind of like that, yes. And that's what I'm fleshing out, because there's a symposium happening, and I can't remember what it's called. The Future of Storytelling, I think is the name of the symposium, FOS. And they have all these people coming together, creatives and technology people and people who are doing virtual reality, and that's where I learned the term augmented reality. And then mixed media, coming together in the same space, and how you engage an audience so that they feel like they are telling part of the story. And so augmented reality is more of you can touch something and it turns into something else. Like there's a place in Mexico where they have the walls come alive as you touch them. Or you walk into another room and the trees that are growing out of the ground, they are these like super hyper pigmented trees, but you touch them and they turn into another color, that kind of thing. And it's all linked to a story that it's telling through the screens that you see in another room. So that kind of thing is what I'm interested in learning more about.
So you're tying technology in to some degree to help tell the story in a new and different way, but a physical, engaging way.
Yes.
So that folks aren't just sitting and letting it wash over them.
Right. Right. And they get invested in a different level. So
Yeah.
I'm still putting it down on paper, but I just want a more expansive experience of how I present my story. This second one in particular to the world.
And then the third one, we'll see.
The third one, I finished a 20-page treatment on it, and I see it could be a short film, but it deals with the mind and the mind versus body. And it has 3 people in it, and one of the persons is paralyzed. And when she goes to sleep, her body wakes up and is able to speak and move and dance throughout the space and interact with her husband, who is a surgeon. And we find a surprising twist about how she got paralyzed and how it involves him, and what parts of us are paralyzed, what parts of us are free, and even if we are able-bodied, how her paralysis turns inward, and how he's paralyzed and how she's actually free. So that's the third installment. We'll see. That's the most recent one, and I have to put that on back burner and finish this up.
Sounds like you got a lot cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all this while acting, wherever and whenever you can, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I just finished a show. I was wondering, actually, if you heard about the show down the street from here at the Horizon, because when I saw you were at McClendon. And I've done a lot of work there, and the last show I did there was How Black Mothers Say I Love You. So I played one of the 3 characters. So that's what I was wondering, but yeah, I was doing that. Mm-hmm.
Well, and she was on my last live show, reading the playwright.
Oh, Trey. Oh, okay.
Trey was there. Yeah.
Okay.
So, oddly enough, circles
He
come
gets
back
around.
in. Venn diagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a character. So you're doing this piece with Out of Hand, right?
Yes.
Upcoming. And tell me a little bit your experience with Out of Hand, because a lot of people may not know how they do what they do. And they're kind of, when you talk about immersing and touching people, they've got a different mindset.
They do, and I'm learning as I go. The last experience I had with them was a community building experience in Old Fourth Ward, where they brought people out of their homes from different walks of life who were living in that area to talk about what their concerns were about that particular area, how they wanted things to change and how they have changed for the better, and some of them felt like they were changing for the worse. And I was part of the artistic steering committee that developed ideas of how to get people into interacting with one another. And in working with them in that capacity, I saw that they really were interested. They seemed to be very interested in community, bringing people together, having conversations, people having conversations that wouldn't necessarily be in each other's spaces. And so in that process, it made me feel more comfortable, or it added to the comfort level of them really trusting me with this story, and also trusting them that they'd be honest about what I'd written. Because it's not just me speaking somebody else's words and then gauging whether or not I'm a good actor and singer. So that's how I got to know them. Yeah.
And so what's the run of the show? Where's it going to be? All those things.
It's going to be, the important stuff.
That's okay. No. We don't have to talk about it if you want. We can just end now.
Find it. It's a living room series, and so it's very intimate. And what they've done is they've reached out to people with homes that can accommodate at least 30 people at a time in a salon-type space. And you find out where the home is going to be closest to you. And then you buy tickets through Out of Hand's website. I have a link on my website as well, but that you can go to outofhandatl.com. I think it's what it is, Out of Hand Theater. And you come in and you sit down, you have hors d'oeuvres, and you drink some wine, and I'm in your face. And I'm telling this story, and I'm singing to you. And I bare my soul, and you can, I'm trusting you not to yank anything off of my person or pull my hair or say boo.
Have you done anything like that before, though? Other than play acting with your friends and stuff. That's the closest. The closest equivalent is it's a house concert. But true. It's a theater thing, which is what they do very well. I have, in this 16 years that I've been a professional actor, I have been in homes where I've promoted other things for shows. And so I've had that experience, but it's been one or two songs or a monologue or something. But a full piece, no, nothing like this. Well, that'll be interesting, I would think. Have you been to the homes yet? Or
Nope.
will you just get there right when
They
everybody
just tell
is?
me, I get there maybe an hour and a half before.
Yeah, so you can figure out the vibe. And
How I have to work the blocking to fit
Mm-hmm.
that area, that space. It's going to be an adventure.
that's
I think it's 21 shows.
Yeah.
We start September 21st and we go through November 17th.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is it's exciting.
It is exciting. I am excited. Boy, you're like, I would never do that. No.
No, I would totally. Somebody goes, hey, we're going to do that. I'm like, I'm in.
You would totally do
How bad will it go? Let's see.
Exactly.
You know? People love a car wreck.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah.
They do. So I'll be jumping off that ledge every single night.
Well, if folks want to learn more about what you're doing or where you're performing or when this stuff is going to happen, what's the best way to do that?
Get on minkawiltz.com. MINKAWILT as in Tom, Z as in zebra.com.
There you go.
Yeah. You can Google me. It's kind of trippy.
I was going to say Minka. You didn't have to fight for that name too much, I bet, right?
I know. I'm thinking about
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Boyd. This was fun.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. Some good folks there. Some wonderful stories. Speaking of stories, the website has gone through an overhaul finally. I know I've been talking about it for a while, and it's done now, or at least it's mostly done. There'll be more content coming, but just let me know what you think about it. Go to goodgracioushow.com. You can learn about Community Arts Live, the organization that I created to support Good Gracious Show, the nonprofit, as well as Wondershop, where that's kind of our home, and all the good things that are going on there. So check it out. GoodGraciousShow.com will get you there, so will CommunityArtsLive.org. But besides that, you can check any of our past podcast episodes. They stream online, so you can just go to the website and click on it and listen to it. If you want to download, you're into downloading podcast music things to your devices, you can do that too through Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, all those places. And, check us out. You can also become friends on Facebook as well as Instagram. But just come looking for us on the socials. And otherwise, I hope to see you Saturday, September 8th at Switchyard's Downtown Club for Patsy Cline's Strong Southern Women birthday party. It'll be a ton of fun. If you haven't been to Switchyard's, it's a really cool co-working space that has some event space in the front that's really got a very warm, homey vibe. Seats about 125, 150 maybe, and just around the corner from the Tabernacle. So I look forward to seeing you all there. Until that time, please be a good neighbor, go hug someone, and we'll talk to you next week.